Hi, this is Matthew Perosi with JWAG. I'm here in Bordeaux, France. Behind me is Palais Gallium, the remains of an ancient Roman amphitheater. This is the last segment, number 7, of my e-commerce presentation that I recorded during the JCK show in June of 2013. What you'll find here should be actionable for several years to come. I split the hour-long presentation into 7 segments so it's easier to watch. Let me pause for a moment to give you a chance to jump to one of the other segments before getting into this one. In this segment, you're going to find out the difference between the types of jewelry photography and why it's so difficult. You'll see comparisons of photos taken in the MK Digital Gem E-Box and then photos taken in the PhotoCubix Flashbox. After watching this, I'm hoping you can see how you can save some time and a lot of money on photography post-processing. Oh, and stick around for my closing comments at the very end. Thanks for watching and enjoy.
So, getting to photography, e-commerce selling online is difficult when you only have one photography. When you just have a single photograph representing a product, customers are really going to say, well, does that really represent what the product looks like? And also customers need sizing information for products. This is a photograph from his website. They always provide 3 photos. They have a top, they have a side, and they have a profile. They're all on a white background. On white flash, they've decided to take all their photography on black backgrounds. And they also provide 6 photographs. They have a style shot, which is down here. It's on a flower background. They also have a sizing shot, which is a lady's hand wearing a ring. Now the challenges of good photography are good lighting. You have to have a digital camera with a manual white balance, and you have to have a good lens. It's going to take a lot of time. And then getting jewelry photography to look good takes a lot of post-processing, a lot more time. So there's a big investment of time involved in photography. This is probably maybe unfortunately, the most popular Lightbox company, MK Digital Direct. This is their Gem E-Box, and here is their Photo Box Plus. And they have these that they've been selling for many years, and when you take photography from one of these boxes, you always end up with a gray background. When you follow their directions, and even if you get a recommended camera, or if you even buy one of their cameras, you'll always end up with photography with a gray background. And these came right from my own Gem E-Box. I actually have one of the Gem E-Boxes. And with this kind of photography results, it's difficult to go from, on the right side we see the original, on the left side we see about an hour's worth of work just to drop out the background, the gray background, to make it come alive. And then try to recolor it, but we started with a crappy looking photo and we really can't get the beauty of that men's ring to come forward because the original source photo was bad. This was shot using a Canon T3i and, like I said, my MK Gem E-Box. We didn't really spend much time trying to clean that photo up. This was just for a comparison project I was working on, which I'll show you in a moment. White Flash decided to kind of change up the entire philosophy. A few years ago, when I was actually teaching jewelers how to do jewelry photography, I used to teach them, hey, you know what? We have this trouble with white backgrounds. Why don't you use a black background in your photography? You don't have to worry about dropping the colors out. They didn't take my idea. They figured it out on their own. But they shoot all of their photography on black mirrors. It saves time in the post-processing, but it doesn't truly represent the look of the jewelry because whenever you photograph any kind of a metallic object, the metallic object takes on the color of whatever's around it. So much of their jewelry has this black color to it, which doesn't quite represent what a real jewelry looks like. On K, they are actually using the white background. You can't quite tell on the presentation here, but I can tell that there is a lot of work done to cut out the gray on this photograph, because when I was looking at this in the zoomed in version on my computer, I can see how the top of the diamonds were a bit unnatural. And it probably took a couple hours for them to clean this up. Imagine if you have a ring with a lot more detail, like filigree. It takes even longer to clean these things up when you shoot them and have a gray background. So I've pretty much given up on what's the best way to have jewelry photography and shoot it on a white background, supposed white background, and have to go through the cleaning up process. Is one of the biggest issues of setting up an e-commerce website to be successful. And then I came across the Flashbox. Earlier this year, I had someone who contacted me through LinkedIn and said, I think we have a good fit. I have this product called the Flashbox, which can produce 100% white backgrounds with every shot, and I said, well, that's impossible. But after a little bit of back and forth, I convinced the gentleman to send me one of those so I could review it in person for myself for a week, and I couldn't believe the results. Using the right camera, the right settings that came with the directions, I can get a clean white background in almost every single shot. Almost perfect photograph. This is, on the left, we see a raw photo that came from the Canon camera that I was using. And then with a little bit of processing in Photoshop, we end up with the photo that is on the right. Doing a job like this probably would have taken a couple of hours, especially with all those diamonds, and also considering there's some glue on the back of this ring to clean that up in here. And that takes a little bit of Photoshop knowledge, but the white background is much easier to clean up. To bring these diamonds to life, much easier to clean up, following the directions that come with the Flashbox than any of the directions that MK Digital provides with their Lightbox. Here's another comparison. On the left, a shot from MK Digital's box. On the right, a shot from the Flashbox A10, the one that I got my hands on. And you can see this cross and this pendant, those are the same ones. The MK boxes really don't have easy ways for you to suspend jewelry to hang pendants, whereas the Flashbox A10 had suction cups inside where you could easily hang jewelry, made the job so much easier. So these are original photographs, no processing involved, so those are straightforward out of the camera on each side. Now the ending result of what your photographs are going to look like on your website all have to do with what the original source photograph is. If your source photograph has a gray hue to it, then it's going to be a lot more difficult to get a good photograph out on the internet. If you start out with a white background, you have true colors, a little bit of tweaking, and some adjustments in Photoshop, and you can have absolutely brilliant photographs on them. Another side-by-side comparison, no processing here. This is a stamp ring that I just happen to have in my office. On the right side, shot in the MK Digital box, on the left side in the PhotoCubix Flashbox A10. Same size, same camera, following the recommended settings from MK Digital, following the recommended settings from PhotoCubix, ended up with two completely different results. The only difference you might think to yourself is, well, this looks like a more true gold color than this one does, but it's the way the resulting photographs come out from the Flashbox. A little bit of tweaking, and you still end up with a white background, but you can bring this this gold color, the yellow gold color, back out. It just takes a couple of minutes of processing in Photoshop, but it's just a few adjustments to the color settings, whereas normally if you want to drop out a gray background, you have to go through this masking process that takes forever. So in my experience with light boxes, I have worked with my own in-house designer when working on large projects several years ago, and my own graphic designer has spent between 1 to 3 hours per image for photo processing. I've also hired outside professional studios to do both the shooting and the retouching for at least $120 per image. And assuming you have a website that has 500 items on your website and 3 photographs each, this becomes an enormous project, because with the MK digital box, if you want to do this in-house, as I have up here, 500 items, 3 photos, 20 hours of labor, 66 weeks, guys, $54,000 in payroll. This is a real cost. I actually had to go through this a few years back when we were working on a project with a very large company. You want to hire an outside pro to do it? $180,000. These are real numbers. This is one of the killing points when jewelers say, "Oh, I want a successful e-commerce website." And I say, "Do you have the money for the photography?" And they look at these numbers and say, "No. Can I get the photographs from vendors?" Sure, you can get photographs from vendors, but the vendors are only going to provide one photograph from one point of view, and they're going to look identical to every other jeweler who has received the same set of photographs from the vendors. It's usually better if you have your own stylized photographs from your own project in-house. Now, using the PhotoCubix Flashbox A10, I find that the quality of the initial photo is much higher and makes the entire editing process a lot faster. So the same project, 20 weeks at $16,500. I worked with a jeweler to do some test photography when I had the Flashbox in my own office a couple of months ago. And we took quite a few photographs, and I tried to time how long the process took from taking a piece of jewelry out of a showcase, pulling a tag off of it, cleaning it, setting it up, staging it in the box, taking a photograph, and then getting it through the entire editing process. And I wanted to make sure that I had these legitimate numbers to present to you guys today. So it's a lot faster, a lot less expensive. By the way, I'm not a sales rep for PhotoCubix, which just turns out to be that they have a wonderful product, which I'm very happy to endorse. Because when you look at these numbers, the Flashbox A10 payroll cost $16,500, MK Digital $54,000. There's really a night and day difference here. The Flashbox A10 is a game changer. And jewelry photography isn't so much of a big deal anymore. Yes?
I don't suppose we're here at the show.
Doesn't have a booth. Stephen, are you in the audience? There he is back there. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the inventor of the Flashbox A10. This is some photos off of the White Flash website. Now they have 6 photos, and I do like their presentation. So they've got 4 product shots. They have what they call a style shot. I would have called this an editorial shot, because this is something I would use in a print ad. And then they have a sizing shot. So it shows a lady wearing a ring. Now these sizing shots can oftentimes be deceiving because you don't really know what size her hand is. So you don't really know how that's going to look. They have other sizing shots for pendants, and kind of get a better idea of what that is. But both of them, they have a good representation, but they're still quite not perfect. Here's one of the shots that I took from the Flashbox. And you look at this and say, oh, this key pendant. One of the problems with jewelry online is it always looks bigger than the way it is in person. So the question is, okay, well, how big is this guy? There's a lot of detail in here, using the right camera and having the correct lighting. This is not a processed photo, this was just a raw photo out of the camera. It still has a lot of good quality to it, but you don't know how big it is until you compare it to something like this. And you say, oh, well, it's a little bit bigger than a penny, and that's a US penny, a European penny, a Canadian penny, and down here is a quarter. So this is actually 3/4 of an inch or 19 millimeters. You could have used a ruler, but depending on who your audience is, sometimes it's much easier for everyone to pick up an everyday item and say, oh yeah, I know the relative size of this. Oh, I know how this will look up, holding it up to yourself. But not so much when you think of a ruler. Whenever somebody says, oh, 3/4 of an inch, first thing that I know I do, and I'm an engineer, is I reach for the ruler that's in my drawer. How big is that really? So when you use a common day item, you can more appeal to your audience. So if you want to sell nationwide in the US, then you would use a US penny, could use a US penny. If you're selling to Europe, you would want to show something that they could relate to. When I took this photograph, I didn't know that Canada was in the process of collecting pennies, and it's no longer legal tender. If you cater to a more upscale clientele, or if your jewelry is along a higher level, wine corks could potentially be a really good thing to show your jewelry again. If you want to sell worldwide, you have to figure out what's going to be ubiquitous worldwide. You could use bottle caps. Bottle caps are the same size worldwide, but not unless you're selling really dirt cheap jewelry. I don't think it's a good match. Rulers, as I already said, between imperial or metric. And then pens or pencils. I've actually found that this guy, the Bic Crystal, is ubiquitous worldwide. It's a French company manufactured both in Mexico and in Europe. No matter what country you go to on this planet, you can buy one of these pens. So if you want to appeal to the largest audience, if you do plan on selling international, you can use a Bic pen as your comparison for your sizing shop. And just to make sure everybody has all these tools for the photography, I'm not going to give you a flash box, but in the back of the room, I've actually prepared little Ziploc bags that have a cork, which I picked up in France. Giving everybody a Bic pen in case you don't have one, and then a European penny and an American penny. Just polish up the pennies, but don't polish them up too much, because if you use them in no matter what light box you're going to have, it's so easy to make those guys brighter than your actual jewelry. Then you can, oh, damn, I gotta adjust this thing in the light box of the flash. So I've rushed through a lot of topics today, or only actually a few topics, but I've created a mind map that I use in my office that kind of shows some of the issues that we have to deal with. I didn't cover taxes. I'm sure that's something on a lot of people's mind. I covered security, I covered photography, didn't talk anything about software. We talked a little bit about optimization, a little bit about content. But what I covered today, I wanted to tell you guys because these are things that you don't necessarily know when you're starting out the e-commerce game. If I were to blow this mind map up, it's huge. In fact, it doesn't even fit on the screen. But when I'm talking to jewelers who want to know about different areas of e-commerce, I kind of pull this mind map out and say, well, here's, in our experience, all the things that have touched this, this area of the e-commerce needs. So I just had a couple of closing comments. I wanted to say that 10 years ago, a lot of people didn't have websites, and now a lot more people have websites, but e-commerce websites within the jewelry industry are not that common yet. Those of you who decide to put your best foot forward and start out in e-commerce will have a distinct advantage over other retailers who don't do it. I predict that within 10 years, the entire industry really will have to adopt e-commerce in order to stay alive. But as I've shown you today, it is a really tough process to get through. It's a lot of steps, it's a lot of money. So start now, start small, and eventually you can work your way into it and become successful. So thank you very much for attending, and everybody have a great day.